every 5 minutes versus every 10 minutes or so with the regular AC Transit buses. Increasing security with addition of additional lighting and also cameras around the bus stations and the like. So these are things at the end of the day really help improve the transit experience for folks who live up and down the corridor. Okay. So just to touch on where we are and what's likely to take place so you get a sense of the timing of things. So we'll be looking at beginning construction on advanced utility relocations and some parking lots in the summer of 2014. We'll be completing the 65% design for the bid package 3, which is the major construction, which is the stations and roadway construction. And that actual construction will begin in 2015, probably the fall of 2015, with the completion of the project ready to start operations in November of 2017. I'm sorry, yeah. Let me know if I need to slow down or pause, okay? Okay, good. Next one. Okay, so what I want to talk about, getting into this slide, is that we have been doing a number of different outreach activities to get input from businesses about the project. One of them are events like this, where we have a standing offer for many of the community-based organizations up and down the corridor to come and meet with their constituents to talk about the project. What's really valuable for us, in addition to sharing information, is also making sure that we're hearing from you and what your concerns are, but also what are some of the potential mitigations that we can bring to the table as part of the 65% design that can help us figure out ways in which we can minimize impacts of the project during construction. Okay, so whereas I'm doing a lot of talking at the moment, what's really valuable is that we're hearing from you about proposed ways in which we can actually look at the configuration, incorporate that into the design document, and see if some of those things are feasible to mitigate and lessen some of the impacts on business. Okay. The other thing that we've done is we have, Jay is in the house, Jay, from NRE. They have done a block by block merchant outreach effort beginning in November, in which they went up and down the entire length of the corridor to engage merchants and talk to them about the project. Again, hear their concerns, get feedback or possible mitigation from them about the project. We think this is important because in order for us to look at our design, how we're going to build out the project, we want to make sure we're getting input from businesses that is integrated into that approach. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're creating a mechanism that allows us to be very specific about what kind of mitigations business owners can expect, what are the impacts on their businesses, what are their concerns are, and then have a means in which we can actually implement that during construction so that any contractor who wins the job will know what kinds of mitigation he or she is expected to have in place, and the business owner also knows what should be done on his or her behalf in order to make sure that any disruption to their businesses is limited. Okay, so I'm missing a slide here. What I wanted to share with you is that we did a block by block, in this block by block effort in San Antonio and East Lake area. We were able to connect with, I think, a total of, I'm going to say, about 55 businesses to get feedback from them, 21 in the East Lake area, and I think it was about 34 in the San Antonio area to hear their concerns about the project. We have a merchant outreach report that we have that looks at all of their concerns and talks about what they think we should do differently about the project. In doing that outreach effort, they came up with some concerns. Show the concerns. These are some of the concerns that they expressed, as has been mentioned here today. Displacement of parking, blocked driveways during construction, loading zones, pedestrian safety, and other construction issues like dust and noise and detours. Okay. All right. So let me pause and say that there are also a lot of positive feedback that we received as well. Many of the merchants felt this project was good for that would be good for their businesses in the long term. Felt that the improvement that this would bring was something that would benefit Oakland as a whole, but also their communities. And so, even though recognizing that there would be impacts, looking toward the long-term benefits, I think there was a sense that this was a positive project for the community, recognizing that we do have to manage the mitigations. So these are some of the examples of the mitigations that we received from merchants. Okay, we talked about planning construction around business hours, or in such a way that vehicular access to merchants' driveways is maintained during construction. Install or expand curb cuts to create additional alternative driveways for merchants located at corner lots, much like this location. Meters and posted time limits be installed along the blocks so that you have less unregulated parking spaces. So what I read in one of the comments was that there was a need for more metered and regulated parking, because without the regulated parking, you would have people who would find a parking space and would be there for the bulk of the day, which didn't allow other folks to come in and use the space and come in and shop and do business, because folks could just find a parking space and remain there for a long period of time. Okay? So based on the merchant by merchant or block by block outreach that we touched about, and I think this number I have in here is a little low. We think we touched about between 15 and 25% of merchants up and down the corridor to again get their concerns and proposed mitigations. We were able to create a matrix where we were able to group businesses by type, and also what were the mitigations or concerns based on those individual businesses. So I think the gentleman earlier talked about a automobile business or a auto dependent type business, and those are one of the significant blocks of businesses that we were able to identify, and they were able to link those with common impacts and also common mitigations. So the hope being that by looking at these groups by type, we can identify certain kinds of mitigation up and down the corridor that might be able to meet their needs on a consistent basis, and then apply those up and down the corridor. So if you are an auto-dependent business and you recognize there are certain impacts you're going to have, we will be able to tell you that these are kinds of mitigations you should see and expect during construction on the project, so that so businesses are aware of what they should have, and if those things aren't happening, they have an ability to reach out to the contractor and also AC Transit to make sure we're able to then follow up and take any corrective action needed to make sure that those appropriate mitigations are actually being put in place during construction. And by combining this with a merchant directory, we're creating a directory that lists every merchant up and down the corridor. That will allow us to stay in contact with that merchant, engage with them, share information with them, so that they can contact us and we can contact them to let them know when the construction is going to happen, what kind of mitigation should be in place, and ahead of time, so that we're aware of what when the construction will occur, and also be able to reach out to us if there's anything they may need during that time frame to make sure their businesses aren't disrupted. So this also allows us to work with, we have established a community outreach working group where there's a couple people in the room who attend those meetings. Andy and Eliza are there. Javier has also attended some of those meetings, as well as Jeffrey from Transform have attended those meetings where we are working with community-based organizations to talk about and develop mitigations and outreach strategies for this project. So when we talk about engaging with businesses, this is another avenue in which we are having people come together to help us make sure that we have a broad perspective on what mitigations need to be, in what ways we can address them as part of this process moving forward. Next slide. So this is sort of a graphic description of what the result of the merchant outreach plan has pulled together for us. Basically, what it identifies is different stages of the project, different kinds of activities, how many merchants we think will be touched, who has different kinds of accountabilities, and how the community, through the community outreach working group, can be involved in helping make sure that we're executing on those things. So from a pre-construction phase where we are right now, the activities that we talked about, merchant directories being developed, we're doing business-to-business outreach that we talked about. We're having community-based organizations meetings as we speak. We've done a walking tour of one of the council districts with one of the council members. That's available to do that with other council members as well. We're looking at the possibility of the city bringing forth some business sustainability programs and the like. Yes.
You're at 20 minutes.
Am I at 20 minutes already? Okay. Well, let me wrap this up real quick. Give you 2 more?
2 more minutes.
Okay. Great. I can do that. So I got my 2-minute warning. So when you look at this list, who we're going to touch, so the director